Jami-Lee Ross.
Mr Speaker, I'm pleased to stand in support of the Hutt City Council Graffiti Removal Bill. I think it's timely that more graffiti legislation is debated in this House, and I say congratulations to the Hutt City Council for bringing this to the House. I also have to say, Mr Speaker, that I was a little surprised to actually see this bill in the name of Trevor Mallard. We know that Trevor has an exceptionally busy schedule, being a professional cyclist, part-time MP and part-time amateur ticket sales agent. Having the time to bring this bill to the House and write such a bill must have been quite onerous. So credit where credit's due. I congratulate Trevor Mallard for bringing this to the House as well. Mr Speaker, graffiti for communities is quite a scourge. It is a problem that communities up and down the country have to deal with. And, Mr Speaker, Hutt City Council, like many councils, has been having a difficult time. And bringing this bill to the House in the name of Trevor Mallard, after he wrote it in his busy schedule, will help the Hutt City Council, should it be passed by this Parliament, to deal with the graffiti issue. Mr Speaker, I've actually had a little bit of experience with a local bill around graffiti. I'm a former member of the Manukau City Council, and several years ago the Council put together a bill on graffiti, of which I participated in the discussions in that when I was a member of that Council. And subsequent to that bill being passed by this Parliament, those who know the history of graffiti bills will be aware that the Labor government in 2008 subsequently repealed the Manukau bill and put in place a new set of provisions around graffiti. Annette King, I understand, was the Justice Minister at the time, and I was pleased as a member of the Council at the time to see the government of the time debating the legislation around graffiti changes and having in place some nationwide changes. Mr Speaker, those who have seen that particular graffiti legislation, and I think this is a question that applies to Hutt City as well, they'll see that one of the main provisions that the Labor government's graffiti legislation put in place was to restrict the sale of spray cans to those under 18. And, graffiti, unfortunately, is committed by many young people around the country, and perhaps that is a particular problem for Hutt City as well. Mr Speaker, I understand, someone was telling me earlier that there is a member in this House that knows a little bit about selling items to young people, the problems that can come about through selling items to young people. Does anyone know of a member in the House that knows a little bit about selling items to young people? So I can hear someone saying, Trevor Mallard. Does Trevor Mallard know a little bit about selling items to young people and the problems that can come out of that? Mr Speaker, the government in 2008 did a good job by restricting the sale of spray cans to those under the age of 18, and I hope that the members opposite know a bit more about the problems with selling items to people that are of a younger age, particularly under the age of 18. Mr Speaker, an additional provision that the 2008 graffiti legislation put in place, and again I think this applies to the Hutt situation, is that sales of spray cans in shops is now restricted. And restricting those spray cans, keeping them behind lockboxes, means that it is much more difficult for people to get access to spray cans. And I would have hoped that after that legislation was passed, that councils like the Hutt City Council had reduced numbers of incidences of graffiti. I hope that was the case, because that was an important provision in the bill. Mr Speaker, in researching a little bit about my speech that I wanted to give on this bill, I did think to myself, what could be the situation for Hutt City Council if sales of spray cans were made online? Because access in shops is now more difficult. Perhaps the younger people are turning to online sales. So, Mr Speaker, the most prevalent place for sales to take place online is Trade Me. So I went along this afternoon to Trade Me, and I had a little look online to see if there are any sales of spray cans by providers in Hutt City Council area. And, Mr Speaker, I was particularly drawn to the attention of the Trade Me account of Bubs242. See, Mr Speaker, Bubs242, I understand, is a Trade Me member based in the Hutt City. I wondered whether Bubs242 had been selling any spray cans. Well, it turns out, Mr Speaker, that Bubs242 has since deleted his account. It no longer exists. I wonder which account the Honourable Trevor Mallard uses now. Mr Speaker, I support this bill and I hope it passes through its first reading.
Trevor Mallard in reply.
Mr Speaker, I want to thank the vast majority of speeches from the House.